All right. Hey, everybody. This is Ed, and I got Dan Bobek with me here today. This is Ed Madison podcast project number 6, I believe.
That sounds right to me.
The number 6. Hey, man,
Yeah.
thanks for coming over. I
Hey,
really
thanks for having
appreciate
me.
it. Yeah. So, Dan, I wanted him to be on today because you really have your hands in a lot of things that I find interesting. So, the things that I'm talking about for you, and we can get into these, but Dan has his own YouTube channel that does maybe live streaming too, but it's basically for video games, video game playthroughs. Would you say right?
Let's plays, yeah. I wouldn't say playthroughs because rarely do we get through the game.
Okay.
So
And it's how many people are with you in this?
it's 3 people total. So and it's more like a comedy show because we're just sitting there riffing on the game, or sometimes we don't even talk about the game and we just kind of riff on whatever. Like the game's just like a jumping point to just start telling jokes. So it's kind of like that. And then we have like sketches and things we do as well.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
yeah,
Cool. And I may not have seen the sketches. As maybe that's something we can pull up too, because I'd like to
sure.
see those.
Yeah.
But so you've got two other friends you're doing this with,
Hmm.
and it's just basically having fun, just playing through the game, or not playing through, but what'd you refer to it as again?
A let's play.
A let's play. So you're let's playing these games and you're having fun with it. And do you ever beat the games?
Sometimes we do. Yeah. If it's a
Sometimes.
short game, because most of our episodes last 10 to 15 minutes,
Okay.
and then we might have part two and part three or whatever. So if it's like a really short game, like a beat 'em up that you can get through in like 40 minutes, we'll put it out in 3 parts,
Okay.
and that'll be the episodes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very good. So the system that you're using the most, what would you say it is?
Um, we are all over the place. Lately, it's been a lot of NES stuff.
NES, yeah.
Yeah, Nintendo. Um, but we play everything from like we did one on Atari Porn, which was fun because there was a like select group of Atari games that came out for the 2600 that were pornographic. If you call like
Hilarious.
squares,
Were,
you know,
were these like Japanese only or something like
no,
that?
they were actually released in the United States, but they were like behind the counter. You had to like go and be like, "Hey, I want that one behind the." And Atari got mad about it. It wasn't official Atari license, product, but
Oh,
they
okay.
didn't have like the NES had like a lockout chip, so you couldn't make your own game and put it on there for a long, long time.
Yeah.
But Atari had no such thing, so people
Sure.
could just make their own games and put them out and sell them.
That's so funny. So the developers, who were the developers then? Any well-known ones back in the day, or that maybe now are a different company?
No, I mean, like, there was, like, 2 developers that did the porn games only, and I don't remember their names offhand, but they're just so awful, but they're hilarious to watch
Oh
because
yeah.
it's the graphics are awful, and there's really nothing. I don't know, there's nothing to them, but it's fun. It's probably one of our most popular episodes too, but
That's cool. I'll definitely need to check these out. I'm going to share links, of course, like I said, for Dan's YouTube page for his game beaters, which I think it'd be definitely everybody needs to check out, especially if you're into those Let's Play
yeah.
series. Look at that. I'm already learning. It's Let's Play. Not so the playthroughs, is that just somebody just playing through the whole game? That's the difference.
Yeah, a playthrough would be someone who plays through the whole game.
Dedicated. That's what they do. Just play through the whole game and they record the whole thing probably at once
Yeah,
or
usually they record the whole thing at once and kinda talk their way through it and, like, what they're doing, how they're doing it. And we're more based on like, let's just have fun and hopefully people have fun with us.
it sounds great. It really
Yeah.
does. So the older systems though, Atari, NES, SNES, is that what you were basically
Yeah,
sticking
we
with?
do that kind of stuff. But then also, a new PS4 game will come out and we'll play that or something for the Switch. So,
You play those too. Okay.
yeah.
So I have to ask because I've been a gamer and I've talked about this before on previous podcasts for most of my life. And I started with, it was actually in television.
Hmm.
So inside my closet of mystery over there, there is an Intellivision system with like 50 games in there. So maybe
Nice.
we can talk about that afterwards if you want to, like, if you need an Intellivision to borrow for your.
I would at least like to see
Yeah, I'll show it to
it.
you. So I started on that and basically went from that to NES, and I was really Nintendo most of my life.
Mhm.
And then, I mean, my relatives or my friends had Genesis, and the Sega branded
Yeah.
consoles, but I never really had those. But it was always cool to play those because I remember that was me sneaking away to play Mortal Kombat
Oh,
when it
right.
wasn't on, I think at the time, or at least I don't remember it being available in that moment. Maybe on SNES it was, but
They had it for SNES, but it didn't have blood, and that was the thing.
that's what it was. Yes, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Didn't like Reptile have green stuff coming out instead? There was no
Yeah, it was like
red?
sweat instead of blood, or
Oh,
and they
okay.
took away the fatalities, so it wasn't, instead of like ripping someone's head off, you would just choke them and then they fall down. It's like, what? It's not.
Lame.
Yeah.
I knew there was a reason, and you just helped me like remember that was the reason why. But I remember having a good friend up the road back in Illinois City where I grew up, and I don't know if you know where that's at or not.
Yeah.
So they had a Genesis and they had Mortal Kombat, and Mortal Kombat 2, and I feel like though didn't Super Nintendo have, what was it called, Rage, or it was called Killer Instinct?
They had Killer Instinct, yeah.
Killer Instinct, yeah, I remember playing that one though.
And there was a Primal Rage as well.
That's what it was, Primal Rage.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's so I went to that, and then you know Nintendo 64 was really what locked me in as a, I think definitely, which sounds weird, but the Nintendo 64 really locked me in as a gamer for life, and that was because of games like Resident Evil 2 that came out on Nintendo
Oh
64,
yeah.
which was the first Resident Evil game that was on Nintendo 64.
Hmm.
The original was on PlayStation, and
Right.
and then but yeah, I remember that that was such a like a pivotal moment for me, being able to play through that. I feel like my grandparents bought that game for me, and my parents didn't know,
Yeah.
and then I like snuck it into my room to just play it, right?
Right.
Because they may or may not have cared. I don't know at the time, but it's so funny to think back. But I've got a lot of old systems in the closet, though. Skeletons in the closet, maybe? No, not really. But so I, even like you said, PlayStation 4.
Uh-huh.
So I switched to Sony. I gave up. I gave up at the Wii, even though I have Wii's in there because the kids would have them, and I eventually had one as like something to play Netflix on in my bedroom with.
Oh, right, right.
But I actually totally switched over to Sony. So like right now, I don't know what you're playing or what you're doing with Game Beaters, but I was playing earlier on the couch when I had a moment to relax. I was playing the newest God of War game,
Love
slowly,
that game.
slowly but surely getting my way through it when I have time,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
what have you been playing?
God of War is in my
Good.
PS4 right now. Um, right now, though, I'm really working on. Um, See, I'm going to start doing live streaming for games, and on the Game Beaters channel because people have been asking about it, and it's hard for us to all get together and do that. But so I'm just going to do it myself for a little while until we
See
can.
how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm working on this Nintendo game called Little Samson, and it's it's kind of tough, but I want to be able to run through it and beat the whole thing. And so far, I can only do it on easy, and I want to be able to do it on the regular mode. There's only two modes, easy and normal.
Okay.
And
You can't unlock a different mode after you beat normal or something.
I don't know because I haven't beat normal yet. It gets really tough toward the end, and so I'm just working on that. I've been like every night for like an hour. I'll just sit down and I'm gonna play this. I'm getting really good at those first couple stages, and then I get towards the end, and it's really tough. But I want to be able to be good at that before I go ahead and start streaming that. So that's my game I'm playing right now.
Very cool. So now, and I've looked at this a little bit in the past. And my oldest son, they have PlayStation 4s in their rooms as well.
Hmm.
Spoiled, but they have my oldest. He wanted to record himself playing like Minecraft back in the day.
Hmm.
When he was really into Minecraft. Now, of
Sure.
course, it's Fortnite and all that good stuff.
Right.
But I bought him a little device, and I had a heck of a time trying to get the audio and the video to sync up to work right. You have to put in like a flash drive into this little box,
Oh yeah.
and then it basically records it into a format on that. And I could never get it to work, unfortunately. I don't know if it was just if one that I thought I did the research on it was going to work, but it didn't. What do you use? That's what I'm getting at. What are you using when you're recording either on the Nintendo? I mean, you don't do any PC gaming, all console.
We do some PC gaming. We've done a few things on PC.
But what do you use
So
for your consoles then? How are you recording
how am
them?
I recording them? Just depends on what we're using, but mostly I just have this little box, and kind of like you, where it has a flash drive, and you plug in HDMI. So like everything I have is either I'll emulate sometimes, like the older systems, just because
Yeah,
it's easier, it looks cleaner,
yeah.
that kind of thing. So I'll emulate those older systems because like the game I'm playing now, Little Samson, no way I can afford that game. I just looked it up on eBay. It's like 30 grand.
Holy
because it's
cow, that's
so
that
rare.
rare?
Yeah.
Oh my god, how many do they make? Do you know even know like stats like that?
I don't know how many they made, but it's one of those things. I mean, this was like new in box, 30 grand
Oh,
on
okay.
eBay. I think you can get a used one that's in bad condition for like 800, something like that. But it was like right at the NES's life. They didn't make too many of them. And but that's why it's so good is because the programmers were really good and efficient at making games at that point.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So, um, but yeah, so I emulate a lot of those systems, and that's you just plug the computer right into that thing,
And
and it
that's how you do it.
records
Okay.
it. Yeah, and then for audio, we just have a little mixing board, and I record that separately, and then I sync it later, which is kind of a pain, but
So I think that's probably what I need to look at for my oldest son. He's got, and I can't remember what the brand is or what it is. Maybe I'll have you take a look after we're done
sure,
here. But maybe I just need to do a separate audio recording for him to, and not rely on the box to do
right,
everything.
right,
Because I feel like so the box has also a spot where you plug in your headphones too, or
hmm
your microphone headphones.
right,
And I think there must be some gain level issue or something like that where it's so light in the mix, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
okay,
I can't figure it out. But anyway, so that's you're doing that with emulators though, like this one you were just recently talking about, which sounds pretty cool. And it's funny you said 30,000.
yeah,
I mean, some people obviously if you really want something, you're going to spend for it. And I'm not going to lie, I've had my eBay purchases in the past for gaming stuff. The last one I can think of is when I had A Link to the Past
hmm
at some point where he got lost or between houses or somebody probably borrowed it.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yep,
So I ended up deciding, well, I'm gonna go and get the not just the game again, but I found there was a few guys that were or gals, I don't know, could be gals that were selling with the box pristine condition and manuals and everything. So I ended up splurging. I think it was like 40 or $50. I mean,
oh, that's
it
not
wasn't
bad.
it wasn't wrapped or anything. It wasn't brand new,
Uh
but
huh.
it was, you know, I wanted that whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you sell any of your any games you might have, or do you collect and sell them?
Um, I haven't been selling anything lately. I used to be a video games salesperson for
Oh,
a long time. I was a assistant manager at a video game store in Iowa City.
what's the video game store called? I was wondering if you were going to say like, you know,
It was video games, etc.
it was video games, etc.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. I'm just curious. So my mind went racing as soon as you said them. Like, oh, I wonder which one it's going to be.
Yeah, and I liked it because it's independently owned, and we did all kinds of games, all retro games through modern, and it was pretty great for a while.
I don't know if they still have one up in Davenport or not.
I think so. I think that's well, that used to be the main headquarters was the Davenport one.
Davenport. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Last time I was in there, I feel like they even had like phones and tablets and
Yeah, they started branching out a bit, but that's after my time.
sure, sure, sure. So, but you worked at a video games, etc.
Uh-huh.
So that was a good opportunity for you to kind of like take all that in and be like, you get to be around that all the time, which would be fun, right?
Yeah, it was great, except they let you either take home a paycheck or you could use your money for credit towards buying games. So I would come home with like a $200 paycheck after 2 weeks because I would sit there and I would just buy games all week.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so it was like,
sure.
why am I working here?
Smart though, by video games, etc. Right? They're like, we know what's going to work.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's almost like they're taking advantage of us poor gamers in that situation.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But they had the cool policy of so you know how like if you take your games to GameStop and you trade them in, they're like, we'll give you $5 for that $40 game that you have.
right? Yeah.
Well, we kind of did that too, except so when we take in games, we were allowed to buy them for cost at the store.
That was nice.
Yeah, so that was a nice perk. Um, and so man, took in so many cool Nintendo games that I wish I would have gotten now.
How
'Cause
about
they're
ones that you emulate now? I'm guessing.
yeah, exactly. I did. I mean, I bought a stack probably of 20 games while I was working there that I have still. But
That's cool though, and that's so you got some, actual hard copies of those games, but you emulate a lot, which actually in this today's day and age, technology, think about it. I mean, it's a pretty smart way to do things, I'd imagine.
yeah, I think
Saves you
so.
saves you $30,000,
Yeah, right.
right?
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, you can. They have cartridges you can, like they. What do you call that? They make reproduction cartridges now.
oh, they do.
Yeah. So
Is
you.
that the new thing going
Yeah.
on?
Right. Yeah. So like, if you want a reproduction of Little Samson. You can get it for $50 from some company that on Etsy or whatever that makes these.
On Etsy, yes,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah.
Yes. That's funny. Nothing surprises me. If it's an easy way to, make a few bucks for some folks, is that basically all they're doing is like figuring out to put it on like a Raspberry Pi type thing in a cartridge, and then no, it's not that easy, of
No, no,
course.
no. They what there is there's little things called a ROM chip inside of a NES cartridge, and they
Okay.
just flash the ROM chip with what's known as a ROM, which is what they use in emulation.
Yeah.
They take that off the cartridge, they take the ROM off there, and you can emulate it that way, or you can put a ROM on a cartridge.
That's all they do. And
Yeah,
then there we go, $50.
yeah, $50. I mean, they give you a nice little cartridge, and it comes with a
Do they get a
sticker
sleeve
and
at least?
yeah, you get a sleeve
You get a
usually.
sleeve?
Sometimes you'll get a box.
Yeah.
They reproduce the box and everything. But then there's people who are mad, like, oh, well, then how can you tell between this and a real one?
I'm
And
sure you can still tell,
yeah,
right?
there's ways. There's ways.
If you're quick enough, or if you're around them enough, I'm sure you can tell pretty easily.
Right.
The sleeves are fun. I remember like the old Nintendo sleeves, like the really nice ones had Nintendo across them,
Hmm.
but then I had a bunch of like just ones were just black. So those were like the cheapies, like the
Right.
replacement ones.
Yeah.
Almost felt like ashamed to bust them out.
Right. You, yeah, you get your friends over and you're like, here's the cartridge,
You're
and
right.
you're kind of hiding it behind the.
The one thing I remember, I didn't have this one, but up the road again, another friend where I used to grow up in Illinois City, friend had the track and field
Hmm.
one. I always remember that too. The track with like the actual where you like run on the pad,
Yeah.
and I guess jump the hurdles and whatever else it was.
Hmm.
I'll never forget doing that either.
Yeah, man, I had that as a kid, and it didn't work that great.
No.
But it was fun to like watch people just
Yeah.
frantically trying to run, and
Yeah.
it was a pretty great sight.
It's got to be like the equivalent of seeing somebody do Dance Dance Revolution or something today. Isn't that game where he's got
Right,
the
yeah,
arcade game or something?
right. But like with
Yeah.
Dance Dance Revolution, there's at least some finesse. Like people get good at it, and they have finesse, and there's no finesse on the old Nintendo pad like that. What's even more funny is I had the Power Glove, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm playing Mike Tyson's Punch Out. This thing works. It just does not work at all, right? Um, but the way that they programmed it, when you fall down in Mike Tyson's Punch Out, to get up,
Yeah.
you have to go like this and make a jerking motion. So like someone in the other room is like, you're making this hand motion that you're up and down
Well,
with the fist closed, and someone in the other room is like, what is going on in that
the
room?
problem is they didn't know if you were playing Punch Out or if you were playing one of those pornographic games.
Right.
That's the problem.
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
That's so wrong.
It is. It is so wrong.
Yeah. So Punch Out used that. And it's funny. You remember the movie, what was the movie with the kid went to go like the competition for Nintendo and
Oh, the Wizard.
the Wizard. That's right. And the kid was in that other TV show, right? What was the kid? You know which TV show?
Wonder Years.
Yes, you got it. Anyway, so I always remember seeing like that scene where he walks in and like this older kid. Of course, he's an older kid, and he's got like the blue jean jacket on, I think, doesn't he? And he's got
Yeah.
like Power Glove, and he's like doing the racing game, Was it
Right.
like Rad Racer or something. I don't know what it was. I should definitely look that up at some point. And actually, you know what? I'm gonna look it up right now because I'm curious.
Yeah, go for it.
But was it Rad Racer? Does that sound familiar?
That he was playing in the Wizard.
The Wizard Power Glove scene.
Yeah.
This could be fun here. Let's
Yeah, there's a meme that goes around because he says it's so bad, and it is really bad.
so there's no blue jean jacket. I apologize. I got all excited thinking there'd be a blue jean jacket
Oh
there.
no.
But I'm not trying to drag this out too much because we're looking at over 2 minutes here. But oh, yeah, he's got the sunglasses though.
Oh yeah, he's cool. He's that cool older kid.
When you're doing your live streams, if you get like a camera view, you should have the sunglasses too.
Oh yeah.
I don't get it. Is he like a poster child for someone?
For your information, butthead, he's headed for the video championships in Los Angeles.
Oh yeah.
Is that right? Well, let's just see how good he is then. Guys?
Look how BA these kids are. Oh, it's got the case. Oh, full of games.
I have 9.
He's
Tho-
so cool.
Those all have Nintendo branding on it. I bet those sleeves, right?
Oh yeah. Well, this was actually Nintendo commercial, basically.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
All the way to the end where we're playing Super Mario 3,
Yeah, which the world had never seen at the time.
which
So
was pretty cool.
yeah.
Yeah. Got some what is that? Hollywood Squares going on in the background on TV.
Yeah.
I like how he does like the yes. I think we all knew somebody like this. Maybe I wanted to be like this. Maybe.
For my whole.
It was Rad Racer.
Oh, you're right.
So I got the blue jean jacket part wrong. But
Yeah, but the game right. That's the important part.
yes. And of course, this probably isn't an actual thing he's doing. They're probably some guys probably playing behind the scenes.
Oh,
there, and
yeah.
he's just kind of acting like he's driving, right?
Right. Because yeah, it did not work this way. It did not at all work this way. Yeah.
It's literally what he was doing a second ago. First he's doing this, then he's doing this.
It almost didn't matter what you did. It just didn't work. So
I was reading kilometers per hour. Is that the way the original game was?
I believe so. Yeah.
Man, look at that. Was that a Volkswagen Beetle he's pushing up against there?
I think so.
Whoa.
It's so bad.
Just his collar at the end. Did you see that?
No, I didn't. That's hilarious though.
Anyway, so yeah, that was a fun movie.
Yeah.
I always, when I watched that when I was younger, and I don't remember what year that came out, but I feel like I wish that was me. Not the Power Glove kid, but
Mhm.
like getting to the championship and playing Super Mario 3.
Right.
Especially since, and I probably saw the movie after it came out, like maybe on VHS or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, VHS, if anybody remembers what that is. But I remember Super Mario 3 was like one of my favorite games, not just because it was incredibly awesome, but because it was also in the
In the Wizard.
in
Yeah.
the Wizard. Yeah.
Yeah, I was so into that game. I could not wait for it to come out. I went and saw The Wizard at the theater.
Oh, okay.
I had Nintendo Power, and like they
Yes,
did
the
like
magazine.
the magazine, and they did like a feature on it before it came out, and you're looking at all the pictures and just like, whoa, this is just gonna be amazing.
That's awesome.
The hype was just.
It was there, but it delivered though.
It did deliver.
It did deliver.
People still say that's one of the best Mario games of all time. So
It definitely is pretty good. So this
Yeah.
past week I was traveling for work, and
Uh-huh.
I actually have the NES Classic and the SNES Classic,
mhm.
and I play those in the hotel rooms when I'm traveling for work.
Yeah,
Because it's just something, all the hotel rooms have TVs,
right.
of course, really small TVs. But basically, the past week I was playing Super Mario on SNES Classic and reliving that.
Mhm.
So I think that one's probably for me. God. So for me, I have a top three. Is it okay to do a top three?
Go for it.
I feel like I need like a transition there. Top three. So obviously Super Mario 3, I think we can all agree is a pretty damn good game
Yeah.
for Mario games. Remember I said the Nintendo 64 was a huge
Right.
so Super Mario 64 for me was pretty defining. I like that transitional period for me where like I knew there's no way I'm giving up the games for life at this point. And then the
Wait, which game was it?
Super Mario,
Because I thought you said Super Mario 3 and then Super Mario 3 again.
Super
So-
Mario 64. I
Oh,
apologize.
okay.
If I didn't say 64,
I'm not sure. I was. That's just what I heard.
Super Mario 64. And I could have said 3 twice. So Super Mario 64,
Uh huh.
Super Mario 3, and then Super Mario World on SNES. So those 3 for me are my top 3.
Okay.
Followed closely by almost all the other ones. But what would your top 3 be if
Oh,
you had to
man.
pick 3?
That is impossible. If I had to pick 3 games of all time,
About Mario games. I'm sticking to Mario games right now.
sticking to Mario games. Okay. Well, that's a little easier.
Right, because I would have a harder time with that if it was all the other games, obviously. Or even just the Nintendo franchises, I would have a hard time.
Right.
But go ahead.
So let me see. I would probably say, in no particular order, Super Mario 3,
Yep.
Super Mario Odyssey,
Okay.
and what else? Probably Super Mario 2, which is
Yeah.
not even really a Mario game.
I think it is. Even though it doesn't have 2 players, and I think that was a classic kind of I love that game.
Yeah, I love it too. Some people say it's not a Mario game because it's a reskin of an old there was a game that came out in Japan, and what they did was they just replaced the characters with Super Mario characters.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it was called Doki Doki Panic.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
Doki Doki Panic.
yeah, and it was developed by the same people who made Mario though, so that it's got that going for it. But it was like a TV show there or something, and you know uh, that game has like a lot of there's like a sand world and sun and stuff
I
like that.
remember.
Well, it's got that theme because originally they were like an Arabian family that and they just changed the characters to Mario
Seems a
characters.
little like racist, or not racist maybe, but I remember the flying carpets, and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah, exactly.
Oh
And
my
that's a
God, it's
holdover.
just like all starting to fill in place. It's starting to fit now.
Yeah,
That is so weird.
it's pretty interesting, I think.
I'll definitely be putting links for that in the description because I got to check that out afterwards for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, you should. You
Doki
should.
Doki Panic?
Yeah,
Doki.
Doki Doki.
Doki Doki?
Yep.
So I still love Super Mario 2, though. I think that's a great game,
Mhm.
regardless. I feel a lot of people, if they didn't know that, I feel like they're like, oh, well, it's not two players. You can't play it with your friend, right?
Right. Right.
So
But then again, Mario Odyssey, that wasn't two-player either, and that's in my top. You know, I I guess the co-op isn't what it used to be.
it isn't. No, it definitely isn't. I'm trying to think of even on like PlayStation 4. So this is going to sound real lame. We were talking about Fortnite with the boys.
Mm-hmm.
So I play Fortnite. I'm in there, and they're each in their rooms.
Yeah.
So it's like reached a point, and as soon as I was doing this, sitting down to play with them, and it's not the first time I thought this, but I'm like, man,
Mhm.
this is so lame. Because I remember when you were all sat in the same room
Yeah.
and just play co-op, or not co-op, but take turns or co-op, right? And
Mhm.
now it's like everybody's in different rooms in the same house playing the same game,
Yeah, exactly.
which is a little weird.
And
But
if you want to talk trash or whatever, you have to like do it through a microphone.
we
and-
all have the headphones with the micro. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we do that. Well, we work together with the boys playing
Sure,
Fortnite.
sure.
We play on squads. So
Yeah, I never talk trash, but I know a lot of people like to. So
yeah. I have a feeling my kids do when
Yeah.
I'm not around, probably to other kids.
probably,
Because let's face it, probably most kids do, right?
yeah, that's a kid thing for sure.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's so strange how things have came from where they were years ago, where we talk about our favorite Mario games, like Super Mario 3. If we just stuck with that one being, two people can play, and now it's not even like that anymore. The
Yeah.
newest Mario game, which I told you I dropped off of Nintendo,
Mm-hmm.
basically at a certain point, the newest one that just came out, what's that one called?
It's called Mario Odyssey.
That is the Odyssey one.
Yeah.
Is there one coming out soon that I may have seen, or is that Odyssey is truly the newest one that just recently came
Yeah,
out?
Odyssey is the newest true Mario game to come
Okay.
out.
So then I haven't played that,
Uh-huh.
so I know nothing about it. I'm in the dark about it at
Oh,
this
okay.
point. But is that just one player, I'm assuming?
It's just one player,
Yeah,
but it's got like throwbacks to every single Mario game.
it does.
it, yeah.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
kind of fun
there's-
then.
Yeah, there's levels where you'll go and like you'll get squished into the 8-bit, original
Oh,
Mario
yeah, yeah.
character, and you have to
Yeah.
go through the level that way, and just little nods and callbacks. You visit like Donkey Kong Town, and
Cool.
Donkey Kong's there, and Pauline from that game, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So it's nice that they throw the throwbacks in for the fans that have been there forever.
And that's on Switch only.
It's on Switch only.
Oh, of course, it's on Switch only. It's
Yeah.
not going to be on Wii or anything like that.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, they've canned all those, except for the 3DS, I suppose that's still going.
So my big thing is not even as much Mario, but Link, Legend of Zelda. Those were my
Oh yeah.
biggest Nintendo
Mm-hmm.
franchise games that I always loved. And I don't know if you saw the picture in the hallway at the end of the hallway earlier. So the next time, or when we're done, if you go to the restroom at some point, when you look down the hallway,
Mm-hmm.
it's the scene from the water temple in Ocarina of Time where you're fighting yourself, Shadow Link. If
Yeah.
you know which part I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I actually have a poster that's in the end of the hallway with a little inspirational saying the bottom left. You have to check that out.
Cool. Yeah.
Later.
Yeah. I'm
So-
looking forward to that.
So that's, for me, I know that probably sounds very typical, right? That's one I bring up first, but the one I told you I bought off eBay before, with the
Mhm.
box and everything for Super Nintendo. I love that one. Even all of them, even the second game on Nintendo that nobody liked either.
I love that game.
I loved it too. I thought it was great. Of
Yeah.
course, I cursed a lot more at that game.
It's tough.
You know, of course, I didn't curse when I was younger. I was a good kid.
You say shoot.
Shoot, darn it all.
Right.
But yeah, so I really love those. So I almost thought about getting a Switch, not for Super Mario, the latest Super Mario game, but was for the latest. Is it called Breath of the Wild?
Yeah.
So
Which is amazing, by the way.
I know. So I remember when it came out, and I'm like, oh, it's like I just want to get a Switch just to play that game. That's the only reason I want to do it. But I have so much going on in my life sometimes.
Mhm.
Like I told you, God of War earlier. I mean, I'm kind of trudging through it when I got little bits of time
Right.
here and there.
Yeah.
I feel like if I got that game, I wouldn't even know I had kids anymore. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. With Breath of the Wild, there was a day. Okay, so like I had some time off to play, and I literally played for 20 hours straight
That's
until I fell
awesome.
asleep.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
And I was like, I gotta maybe not play this so much. But then I did it again and again. So
So that's what I'm afraid of is going to happen with me.
yeah.
I really feel like that's what's going to happen. The last time that I took a decent amount of time off of work to play a game, Grand Theft Auto 5, pre-ordered it.
Hmm.
When it came out, I took a week off of work and I played the game like almost, I mean, a lot of hours. I don't know how many hours it was, but that first week that I took off,
Yeah.
I mean, I was dead to the world. You know, nobody could ever reach me. That was me just playing. And I never did that on a Nintendo franchise game, which just
Sure.
seems weird now that I bring it up as Grand Theft Auto 5. But that was the game though that I really spent a lot of time with.
Well, there's so much to do in that game.
There was. Yes.
It's yeah, it's
I've-
almost unlimited.
I almost feel like that game probably still today has a lot going on for multiplayer online.
It does. It
Which
does.
I did a little bit of after I got through the initial game part, you know.
Mhm.
And I didn't even get to, of course, all the little things, you know, in the single player mode that you could have unlocked or gotten to, but I got a lot done on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the game that made the most money out of any game ever. So,
I
'cause
think,
it's still going. They released it like 5 years ago, 6 years ago,
right?
and it's still selling. It's still in the top sales.
Not only for sales and all the money they're making probably on the multiplayer side after the fact, right? Because I
Mhm.
know they're charging people for certain things all
Right.
the time, but I felt like it was one of the best rated too of all time. Now, the
Mhm.
newest God of War game that came out, I
Yeah.
noticed was, of course, deservingly so, got a really good reception, right?
Yeah.
And it did really well. I noticed numbers wise too, but I don't even think, I think it was like still like second to Grand Theft Auto 5 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. It
I'll have
was.
to look that up again, but
But the nice thing about that though is like a lot of companies were saying, "Oh, multiplayer is the way to go. All the single player games are gonna die," and God of War kind of proved that wrong, which is
oh,
great.
that's such a great game too.
Yeah, it is. It's so good.
I love how the game doesn't have any cutscenes. It's like literally, or I mean, it doesn't, you know what I'm saying?
It's flawless cutscenes. It's like,
It's so well executed, you don't even realize they're cutscenes.
Right.
Is what I'm trying to say.
yeah,
So, you know, when we think of cutscenes, remember we talked about Resident Evil 2 on Nintendo 64 earlier?
yeah,
Cutscenes on that game was like a totally different look on the screen. And then it was a totally black screen for a moment. And then it cuts back. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. The
It's so,
loading.
yeah, it's so amazing with God of War. It's so fluid, right? And like we were just saying, you don't even notice it. And it's like a freaking movie you're just
Hmm.
getting through. I don't know, is that the right way to say it?
I would say so. The story is so good. You get really invested in the characters, and you're like, "Oh my god, is the?" You're like crying almost.
spoilers.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. But
But
I may not even be to that point you're talking about yet, too.
yeah,
so.
yeah. I'm just saying. Well, even at the beginning, you're like figuring out like, whoa, well, this is some heavy stuff, you know. So it's yeah, it's an intense game. I like it a lot.
I noticed there was on YouTube. I know you're on YouTube a lot. I
Mhm.
noticed there was a video that somebody came out with recently with God of War, where it's this guy who's dressed up like Kratos,
Oh yeah.
and he's got his like roommate with him. He keeps talking to him like he's the boy, the son Have you seen this
I
yet?
think I have actually. Now that you mention it.
They put out 2 videos so far. So, and I may link those in the description if anybody wants to look at them too, but they're pretty hilarious.
Yeah, is that the one where he's like, "Boy, bring me my axe," and or like he'll throw the axe and then the boy like runs over like, "I'll get it for you,"
Yeah.
and
He's like
he's
standing there waiting for it to come back.
yeah, exactly.
And it's not coming back, and he does that motion, right? Like in the game, like he's waiting for it to come back.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the one. And
Yeah.
then they just came out with the second one. I don't know if you saw that one yet.
I don't think I have.
Oh, I don't want to give any spoilers away on that video, but it's
Mhm.
got some other cool things built into that too,
Nice,
or
nice.
fun things like from the game. So
Okay.
yeah, definitely need to watch that too. But yeah, God of War. That's what I've been kind of getting through lately. So for me, when I'm not playing God of War, I'm curious what you're playing too when you're not recording or doing your game beaters. But for me, admittedly, when I'm not playing God of War lately or Fortnite with the boys, I'm very, it sounds bad too, but first person shooter, I love, I love the newest Doom game that came out. I still play that on occasion. Battlefield, not one, but Battlefield 4. I'm not a Call of Duty guy. I
Mhm.
used to be back in the day before I saw the light and then switched over.
Yeah.
So I usually, and so either online or like single player Doom, without actually playing online multiplayer. But that's the kind of stuff that I usually play, which just seems weird because I feel like I don't know, I feel like I should outgrow that for some reason. I don't know why I feel that way. I think it's because there's so many kids that play that stuff that can kill me all the time, nonstop. But on Battlefield 4, I mess people up all the time. So I
Well,
I,
that's
I
good.
got so good that I'm on top all the time of the charts for the team and everything.
Mhm.
But I feel like most of the time on these games though, and I know you probably experienced this too, like
Mhm.
on Fortnite when I play with the boys, you can tell all these people that play, they're really good because that's probably all they do. They
Oh
just
yeah.
they just probably sit around and play that all day long.
Yeah, I still haven't tried Fortnite. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's
Think about now too. Kids are off school for the year.
Mhm.
My boys, guess what they've been doing since they've been off school?
Playing Fortnite.
Basically, yeah. And I'm like, take a break for Fortnite. So then they're on YouTube.
Oh, right.
Which, by the way, which I feel like, is it okay for kids to watch your game beaters?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. I maybe for my oldest is 13. Would it be okay for him?
um, we had so sometimes we have guests, and we had one of the game beaters, Adam. His son was on,
Oh,
and we
cool.
played Arms,
Cool.
and they could watch that. I'm sure.
My oldest would probably, I just want to make sure I'll just clearing it for him, but I'll let him know about it too. Cause I'm sure I didn't even think about it to let him know that you have that.
Oh yeah.
Cause he's like, my oldest, when he was here earlier, before they went with their mom for the weekend, he's like, so who you having over for your podcast tonight? It's like, oh, my friend from Iowa City called Dan Bobek. And I didn't even think to be like, oh yeah, he's got this YouTube channel, so I'll definitely tell him about it.
Right on. I mean, like I would. There's cussing in there. We cuss sometimes.
That's not that big of a deal. As long as he's not seen the pornographic games, probably, I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah, you might want to have him not watch that one.
Okay.
Um, yeah, there's another one we're getting ready to play, which is called House Party,
Okay.
and that is a modern game where it's very very racy, and I probably wouldn't let them watch that either.
Okay.
So
Good to know.
yeah,
It's also good for everybody else to know too, I guess, if you have kids and they wanted to watch it. It's
Right.
good to be prepped on. And for this, I know my oldest probably watches it. I don't know if my youngest watches it. He's 10.
hmm
But I mean there's swearing in here. So swearing doesn't bother me as much.
right,
It's just the funny story about that and God of War. So my oldest, and this would have been years ago, I got him a PSP,
hmm
but I bought it for him used. I didn't buy it for him new. And
Right.
the person I bought it from, it came like with 10 to 15 different PSP games. So I'm like, score,
yeah,
right? So I don't have to go out and buy him a bunch of games. I didn't realize one of the games that was in that,
God of War.
God of War,
Oh,
and nudity included in that one too.
I believe they have an orgy in it.
Yeah.
So-
So I basically I took that away when I found out it was there.
Yeah.
He snuck that back from me
Mm.
at some point. He found it and snuck it back.
Oh man.
Let's just say that was the end of the PSP for a long time.
I bet. Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, so be careful, parents at home. Not that I have to tell parents; they already know this stuff. But
Well, sometimes they don't. Like, so the other day I went to a GameStop and I'm looking around and this kid comes in, probably 8 years old,
Yeah.
and he's with his dad, and they're like, "Well, pick out any game at your birthday." And he's like, "I want Grand Theft Auto 5." And then he's like, "We'll take Grand Theft Auto 5." And the clerk was like, "I should let you know that this game has nudity and blah blah." She just said the whole thing, and the kid was like, "Oh," he was like mad, but
He
the
was
dad,
trying to sneak it over, or you trying to
yeah,
make it
he's
happen,
trying to
right?
trying to make it happen, and the dad was like, "I did not know that. Thank you for letting me know."
Good employee.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, but I know how kids are. They know what they want and they know why they want it. And so as a parent, you got to be vigilant. So,
On the kids' PlayStation 4s, I have the age restrictions
yeah,
set up accordingly. So I'm letting my oldest now dabble into the mature but no nudity. Like some of the, I think I got him the first big one I got him was Fallout 4,
right.
which parts of it are, but I don't know if he didn't get. I knew his attention span. That's the difference between, I think, and if you don't mind my asking, it
Mhm.
seems rude, but how old are you?
I am 42.
You're 42.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm in my mid 30s.
Mhm.
Us, we are able to hold attention towards things a lot longer, I feel. And maybe you feel like you're that way? Like you can sit down and play a game for a while.
Yeah, sure.
For the
Yeah.
most part,
Mhm.
maybe not like you used to,
Right.
but like the boys, my boys, I mean, it doesn't hold their attention. That's why Fortnite I think is so great because think about it with Fortnite, and I know you haven't played it, but you have
Yeah.
like what 15-minute sessions or half-hour sessions, and then that's it. Like I got him Fallout 4, so he knew that I'd play that. I played that by the way for oh my god forever, for hours and hours and hours. So he's like, I really want Fallout 4 because I watched you play it. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I don't think there's much that he could get into there that would be really bad. Like
Right.
I knew he wouldn't have the attention span to stick with it long enough to where he'd actually find anything probably anyway. And of course, I was right.
Yeah.
Kids these days just do not hold. They can't, unless they're getting instant gratification from something. I don't feel like for us playing hours and hours of certain games in the past, we have like 20 hours a day of, the latest Zelda game or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think kids are like that anymore.
Well, do you think that comes from like modern society? Like, just having information at your fingertips
Yeah.
constantly and
Absolutely, it does.
yeah.
I agree. Absolutely, it does. Yep. That's what it is. I tried and we haven't gotten into music yet, and Dan's a musician here, but my kids, I've tried guitar,
Mhm.
bass with the oldest, both those for the oldest, guitar, mm-mm. Bass, mm, again, it's like I figured this is not a jab at bass players on YouTube. It's like, four strings, he would play White Stripes, Seven Nation Army, and he'd be happy.
Right.
They didn't last very long either. And my youngest on the drums, he couldn't stay focused enough, it seemed like, to where he was really improving. Like it was just like short runs of I'm just having fun beating on this, which was cool. I like that. I'm like, all right, so he's getting into it.
Yeah.
But it never really materialized because guess what they both wanted to do instead? They both wanted to be on, their phones, games, when it used to be tablets years ago.
Right.
It sucks. It's a bummer, because I'm like, I really wish they'd stick with it. And I could
Right.
force them, but then they're not going to be, then they really won't be happy, right?
Right. Maybe with me for playing guitar, see my father had a guitar and he would never let me touch it. And I always was like, "Oh, I just want to play that guitar." And
Yeah.
and so he never let me touch it. So sometimes I'd like he wouldn't be home and I'd go sneak and try to play it.
Oh,
and-
yeah.
yeah. And eventually um so when I was like 18, he passed away and I
Oh,
took his guitar
yeah.
and I was like, well, now I have a chance to learn this thing for real. And it was like,
And that's
I was going to do it, and I was bound and determined. So, but like maybe not having access to it is what helped, I think.
I don't think that's worked with them. I'm going to tell you why. I think I understand that situation, and
Mhm.
I'm sorry that your father passed away when you were so young too.
Oh, it's okay.
But by the way, what was that guitar? Before I forget,
The guitar,
yeah, what was it?
it was one he made
Oh,
himself.
he made it.
Yeah,
An electric or an acoustic?
an
then?
electric.
That is so cool. I was like, yeah, an acoustic. That'd take a lot of time too.
No,
but
he made one. He cut out the wood and everything. I watched the process.
that's so cool.
So I guess I see why he didn't want me to touch it, but
I understand. So the boys know that this office that we're in for the podcast is basically not a place where they get to hang out. Right. It's got some cool, fun stuff. They get to come in and look at like the random knickknacks, Mario, and
Sure.
some. I don't have a whole lot out right now, but basically, I still feel like even though they know this is off limits, I've never seen an. I'm very OCD, so where I'm in a room, I can identify what's been messed with
Oh yeah.
because the kids are not very good about putting stuff back 100% the way it was.
Hmm.
The only instrument I've ever found that hasn't been exactly where I left it was my ukulele
Oh.
in my bedroom.
Yeah.
That's the only one I've ever noticed that has not been, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like with this, I mean, I would almost be happy actually if I walked in like, oh, somebody was trying. I mean, obviously at the same time, I don't want them banging around my Taylor 814 CE over there,
Right.
either.
But who knows? Maybe one of your kids is a master of the uke right now, and
Just don't
you
even
don't
know
even
it,
know.
right?
Yeah.
I would be okay with that,
Right.
right? Because I am not a master of it. I wish somebody would be, and that's the instruments. And we were kind of talking about this, I think, early before we were recording. But I've got bass and electric drum kit and ukulele, a dulcimer. That was a family heirloom kind of situation, though.
Okay.
But I don't know. I feel like I probably don't need any more instruments in my life.
I've kind of reached that point myself.
Have you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So for you, and you started on guitar when you were 18, then basically when your father passed,
Basically, yeah.
officially.
Yeah. Officially,
But before that, did you play anything else?
nothing. I wasn't in band. I wasn't doing anything.
Singing
So,
choir, anything like that?
Nope, nothing like that.
Okay.
So but I loved music, So, because I mean, this was like the '90s when Nirvana was coming up and all that, and I was just like swept away in that whole thing.
Like grunge.
Yeah, like
thing?
grunge, high school, all that, and I wanted to play because I was looking up to these guys.
Yeah.
So
Cool. So you were just playing guitar until when did you pick up a bass then?
bass was, well, actually, so I had that guitar for a little while, and then I wanted to get a bass because I was like, I think I should have both. And I bought a bass, and then eventually I was playing that for a while, and I was like, I really like bass. And then my friend was like, hey, let's start a band, but I need a bass. I want to play bass. So I just gave him the bass I had, which was a Gibson Ripper.
Oh yeah. Is that the round bottomed? It's got like
Yeah, it's kind of
Yep.
big.
Yep. It's got a big
Um,
old round bottom on it.
Yeah, I bought it from a neighbor for $50.
Yeah.
And yeah, I gave it to that guy, and we started a band for a little while, and but then I stopped playing bass after that for a long time, and until I mean, I always had a bass on hand for demos and stuff later on in life, when I really started to get into recording things,
For like studio work then.
like
basically.
studio work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I had a bass where I could make demos and lay all the tracks down. I'd lay drums and bass and the whole thing. And but yeah, and then when we started doing Nirvana, um, I decided, okay, I'll buy the Nirvana bass, the one that Chris uses.
Sure.
And
The
so
Firebird.
yeah, the Firebird, the Thunderbird.
Thunderbird.
Yeah,
Firebird, Thunderbird, whatever. Yeah.
yeah. So I bought that, and I've just been digging playing bass since then.
Cool. So, and just not to stop you, so just to
Uh-huh.
explain, because he said Nirvana, and I don't know if we even talked about that yet.
Oh, no, probably not.
So basically, when I met Dan the first time, I think we shared in a gig in North Liberty, Iowa. Correct me if I'm wrong,
Mhm.
but we played at a venue there called J&A Tap, and he's in this tribute band called Nirvana, and he plays bass, and that's how I know him first. Is like a bass player from Nirvana.
Yeah.
So it's cool to hear the guitar side. But what year did you pick up the bass then though? Where you're like, I gotta have both, because I don't know if we really established that. You're 18, you had a guitar.
True. So yeah, I mean, probably 18 or 19, I bought that Ripper.
Oh, so it was right after that then.
Yeah,
Okay.
it
So
was-
it wasn't much later then.
Right, right. And I just had to make a decision what I want to do. So I just chose a guitar, because the other guy wanted to play bass.
And the ladies like the guitar players better than the bass players anyway, right?
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. I'm
probably.
kidding.
It's funny because people are always like, every guitar player has ever lived has picked it up because of a lady, and it's like, I didn't do that.
It's just a joke, really. I just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I know.
Just
I know.
be funny.
It is funny. I'm just saying because it's a stereotype. That's why it's funny.
It's also not wrong to some degree either.
See, I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of
I'm
people who do.
kid- It's
There
all
are.
right. No, it's all musicians are equally attractive.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good.
Maybe not the ukulele players.
I've been attracted to some, but
There's some good female ukulele players I've seen
yeah,
online before, or whichever way you're gonna look at that too. So
right.
what was that big guy who did the Hawaiian? He passed away. Did the version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow, or was it something else?
Oh, Tiny Tim.
Yeah, no, not Tiny Tim. That was the thin, weird looking dude. This is the big Hawaiian guy I'm talking about. He did that one iconic song on ukulele, I thought.
I know who you're talking
was
about.
it-
I can picture the guy in my head, but
Anyway, so yeah. Anyway, maybe I'll link that later too in the description. But anyway, so guitar, bass shortly after. Shortly after that, you really got rid of the Ripper, and then later on you got is it Firebird or Thunderbird? I thought it's not a
I
Firebird.
think it's called a Thunderbird. But
Thunderbird. Okay.
yeah.
Then you got that for Nirvana, and how long ago was that where you started playing it with Nirvana?
Okay. Well, let me. I did have a bass before that.
Fill in the blanks. Go ahead. Yep,
Okay.
Yep.
So, in like, I don't know what year it was, maybe 2000, I just bought a cheap, just a cheap Fender bass. I don't even remember what kind it is. It's like a Jaguar bass or something like that.
Yeah.
They're kind of smaller ones.
Yep.
And
Short scale or not short scale?
it's like a short scale.
Shorter scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I just thought I want this for demos and whatnot. Oh, wait, even before that, I'm sorry. So before that, in late 90s, I bought a Dan Electro bass.
They made basses? I don't even know if I knew that.
Yeah. I still have that one, but the guitar player in my current band is using it for his demos right now. And
Oh,
he's
is
got
he?
it. Yeah, he's had
Okay.
it for like 6 years now or something. So it kind of was almost his at this point. But yeah, so I have this Dan Electro bass since then. And then I bought the Jaguar bass. And that's what I started with in Nirvana. And then
Gotcha. Okay.
because Nirvana was just like that thing came out weird. We didn't intend to do a cover band or anything like that. Our singer Joe, I used to run this open mic, right? And our singer Joe was going to play the open mic, and he asked Adam and I, Adam's the drummer, and in the Game Beaters as well, but asked Adam and I if we would do a Foo Fighters song with him, and we didn't know the song, but we said sure, why not?
Do you remember which song it was?
It was a B-side. I had never heard it.
Okay. All right.
So we learned it real quick within like 2 days. And then we're like, we have time for one more. What else do you want to do? And somebody said, well, we all know a Nirvana song probably. And then we played it like 5 different Nirvana songs immediately offhand, like
Oh, cool.
without even trying.
So that's how it got started.
So
then.
that's how it got started. We were like, well, we're pretty good at this already. Like, how many do we actually know? And it turned out we knew like 20 already
Oh my God. that's
without even
great.
trying.
That's great.
Yeah. So it just became like, okay, well, let's just get a rapport now together and we'll go play.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And how long has Nirvana been going on now?
I think we're heading into our 3rd year.
3rd year.
Yeah.
I wonder if when I first met you,
Mhm.
I wonder if that was when it just started, because I feel like it's at least been a couple years.
I feel like that was our 2nd or 3rd gig.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that the night where the cops came in and it was getting loud at the
Yes.
venue there?
Yeah, the cop showed up. We tell that story all the time. It's fun to tell. But then the cop was like, I guess our singer Joe talked to the cop, and the cop was like, well, actually, I just came in because I like Nirvana, and I heard Nirvana playing outside.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't even care that as
Yeah.
much about the people probably getting upset about it.
right.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
so funny. Yeah. So Nirvana though, and so you played bass before that, obviously, guitar player, and then so you said studio recording stuff.
Mhm.
Now, if you're okay going through this, and I don't even know all the details, but basically you traveled to be with Steve Albini
Yeah.
in what would you call this, a master class for recording or
Yeah.
studio work?
It's like
or-
a seminar / internship kind of thing.
Just to stop you. So before you even get to that, how did that happen? Get us to what led up to that point.
I had just read a thing where this place called Mix with the Masters had put out like not like a casting call, but kind of like a casting call, where you would send them your resume and a couple recordings for them to listen to, and then they would pick and choose who. What was it, like 15 people? They would pick and choose 15 people from around the world. I was the only American that was there.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That is so cool. And where was it at though?
It was in France.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
some little South Remy, something like that. I can't remember. Um, but yeah, it was great meeting engineers from all over the world. And my French is awful. I can't speak it at all. So it was tough.
I'm
But
sure not everybody else spoke French either though.
everybody there did basically.
From around the world?
Well, I mean, most people were from Europe, and
Oh,
they
okay.
they were
Like a second language was French or something.
yeah, they were multilingual. But I did get a couple of them needed help too. You know, there was a guy that was from Liverpool who was, you know, he wasn't exactly great with French, but
Sure.
um, yeah, there was a lot of cool people there.
So what did you do when you were there? What's something that you went through or you experienced?
So we, as a group, we recorded a band called Rat the Magnificent, and Steve would show us how to set up the mics, and we'd set them up, and he'd explain why each mic works the way it does, and what his system is, and then we learned how to record to tape, and how to um, take that tape, and I don't know. We were cleaning tape machines. He basically ran out of things to teach us. And like, we were there for 9 days. And I think by day 6, he was like, I've taught you everything I know. If you have any questions about like celebrities or anybody I've worked with, go ahead and ask those.
So maybe because a lot of people may not know without using Google, of course. So
Yeah.
Steve Albini, how long has he been doing it? Who's he done some of the work for?
He's been doing it since the 80s, I think. Maybe, I mean, like probably like 1980 or whatever. He was in Big Black, which is a punk band, a seminal punk band. And then he's in Shellac as well, which is another punk band, noise rock. But he's recorded a ton of people. Nirvana, In Utero, he did that.
Okay.
The Pixies albums, the original first 3 or whatever.
Okay.
Everything the Breeders have done. He recorded, there was a Page and Plant album that came out that he recorded back in the 90s.
In France, all those in France?
No, he actually lives in Chicago.
Oh, so what was the draw being in France
In
then?
France, that's just where the seminar was being held.
Okay. And he just happened to be the man that they contracted for that
Yes,
seminar.
yeah,
Okay. I
yeah.
understand now. So you two were like the only Americans there, then you're saying?
Yeah, and he brought his assistant, Greg Norman, who's also recorded a lot of cool bands like Russian Circles and things like that. They're a pretty heavy band. Yeah, so Greg was there too. So we were like the 3 Americans there.
So was it cool to be like, oh yeah, I'm from Iowa? And he's like, oh, I'm from Chicago.
Yeah, pretty much.
Is that what it was like?
Yeah, it was. And
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, because I was born in Chicago too. So,
Oh, okay.
I was, he was asking me what part, and he's like, oh yeah, that's only like 10 miles away from where I live or whatever.
So where'd you grow up at in Chicago?
Well, I was born in Evanston, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago.
Which side? Which side? Give us a little bit more there.
I don't even know. I couldn't tell you. I was too young.
That's
to
cool.
know. But like I grew up in Chicago until I was 10, and
Okay.
then moved to a little town called Macomb, Illinois.
Oh yeah, I know where Macomb is.
Macomb.
Yep.
Yeah, and my parents went to school there, and then after my dad passed, we moved to well, I kind of was a nomad for a while, and my mom moved to Iowa City and kind of became a realtor, which is how I got here.
Okay.
So
Okay. Cool.
'cause
Cool.
she got me a great deal on a place, and that kind of thing.
Cool. So I asked where you're from in Chicago. My currently I have family that lives in West Chicago.
Mm.
So a suburb called West Chicago.
Yeah.
Close to like Naperville, Warrenville area, if you're familiar with that.
Okay. Yeah.
So I go up there, and I go up there for work too. So I'm just kind of curious as to what
Yeah.
portion it was.
I mean,
so.
most of my family lives in Skokie.
That sounds familiar, but I don't know where it's at. So
Oh, yeah, it's just
it's no big deal.
a
But
suburb.
yeah, so well, that's cool. So you started in Chicago then. Steve Albini was from there. Big surprise too. That was kind of fun. Unless you already knew ahead of
Oh
time.
no, I knew.
You knew ahead of time.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you did your research. So
Yeah, he's had a studio there for a long time called Electrical Audio. So
so have you been to that studio?
I haven't, but he invited me. He said, "Hey, anytime you want to come down and check out the studio, if you want to use it,
Oh, that's cool
you
too.
know, you can." So I mean, he was a really cool guy.
So the whole time, the first 6 days, what is the one big thing that you took away? That you took away. Thanks, Dell. That you took away from that first 6 days.
What's the big thing I took away from it?
Yeah, that you didn't know before. That was really helpful for you when you were, you're in the studio and recording.
Right. Um, I suppose it's the big thing I took away is probably a lot of it was mic placement and stuff like that, but I guess being okay with natural sounds and learning how to use those natural sounds to your advantage. Um, that
For
was
instance, like what's one natural sound you're referring to?
okay. Like, so if you want reverb on your guitar, Steve would set up a close mic on the cab, and then he'd set one way back in the back of the room
And blend them like stereo or
and
something?
blend them. Um, like one would be the reverb mic, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and he'd blend those.
Oh,
And
are these like SM57s, SM, or were they?
I have a list of in my notes. I took extensive notes. I
Did you?
can't
Okay.
remember which mics he used in particular, but he brought his mic locker because he knew he
He
wanted
did,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, I took pictures of it. It's awesome.
A big old like trunk or something?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I didn't see when we got there and they let us into the studio. He had already been there because they filmed something with
Oh,
him.
okay. Yeah, to set up and prepped. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then they just had all of the mics like sitting out on this table. It was like 100 and something mics just sitting out at a table, and we were
Holy
like
cow.
looking at them all, and
That is crazy.
it's like kid in a candy store.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
No kidding.
yeah, it was awesome.
So he showed you all the mic placements. Was it just on guitar or was it on cabs only? Was it on drums? Was it on everything?
Yeah, we recorded everything. We, like the first day we worked on drums. He showed us how to set up the drums and this
Mic
and that.
placement, all that
Mic
too.
placement,
Yep.
and it's like this is how we'll do it for a small drum room. But then the studio, this place, it's like a really old place in France. It's a mansion that they turned into a studio.
Cool.
So they have this giant hall, and we put the drums in there the next day and recorded a different song, and recorded the same song we did before, so we could hear the difference between what close mics sound in a small space and what the close mics sound like in a large giant hall.
Is that like the hall reverb?
Yeah,
effect?
basically.
Is that
yeah.
what it is?
Yeah, and he's
Yeah.
because he's all about natural sound. He doesn't want to put any compression, anything on anything.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying now. By
Yeah.
natural sound then.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
all
okay.
about the natural sound. And uh he's like, it's not about like the tape you use or anything like that. It's just more like capturing the best sound you can capture
Using the mic selection.
using the mic selection.
150 plus microphones.
Yeah, and I mean, like,
because
you know-
everybody's got those, right?
right, and some of them are like vintage mics that 20 grand or something for the whatever.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
If you had 30 grand, would you rather spend it on the little Samson? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Or would you rather spend it on that microphone?
Oh man, that'd be a hard shot. Probably the microphone would be more useful to me.
Because you got the emulator for the game.
Yeah, exactly. Although now they're coming out with mic emulators, so I don't know if you've heard of those things, but like
I have, but I don't know much about them.
there's a guy named Steven Slate who he's got these mic emulators, and supposedly people can't tell the difference. And
Is that the same thing? Like nobody can tell the difference between Axe effects and a real tube amp too, or is that what that kind of situation is?
maybe, I mean, they are getting really close on some things.
Or like Kempers versus tube amps, and people are like, I can't tell the difference.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's basically that kind of
Is
thing.
that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
because Kempers are close. I mean, you can still tell it's digital or whatever, but it's so close that I don't think your average listener will know.
That's true. Yeah, I understand where you were getting at there too. And I'm not a snob completely. I mean,
Yeah,
I am. If you look
right.
behind you, there's two tube amps behind you. But
Yeah.
I mean, I also use, like I said, that with earlier we talked about that Jam Hub thing I have.
Hmm.
I got to use that Line Six. I think it's called. God, I can't remember what it's called now. But it's a newer version of their multi effects thing that they make, like an amp. They make a pedal and they make something else. It does sound like crap, though. I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty
Yeah,
awful.
I know. I've had my day. I bought a pod once back in the day,
Back in
and
the day, which one was it? The big red
the
one?
big red one. Yeah,
Yeah, actually, no, not the color of this shirt, but I was thinking
it's
it was
close.
some off red color, wasn't? Or it wasn't quite. It reminded me of Joe Satriani's signature red on his S body style Ibanez guitars. Is what it reminds me of.
Yeah, it's kind of got that. It's like a dark red, like a
That's
more.
what. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yep.
yeah. And I mean, at the time, you're like, it sounds like a guitar, but oh man, I listen to some of those recordings, and it's like, wow, that was awful.
Oh
That
yeah.
was an awful sound.
It's funny. Can you think back? I know your dad's electric guitar.
Uh huh.
Which do you still have that?
No, I took it to a repair shop, and the repair shop closed,
Oh my
and
god, no,
and there was no way to get it back.
no.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't even. I just thought about that. I'm like, I was gonna ask, what was your first like rig?
Oh yeah.
What was your first? No matter what the size of the speaker was, or what the amp was, or what your pedal was, what was your first rig that you can remember?
Well, I mean, there was that guitar, and then he had a small little PV practice amp, and I used that for a little while until we started the band. Then that became our vocal monitor.
It did the vocal monitor.
Yeah, and
It wasn't a wedge though. You probably like tilt it back a little bit, and that's how it worked, or what?
I think we just set it up on a shelf.
Like a bookshelf somewhere in the corner,
Yeah, yeah,
and it
exactly.
worked.
And I mean, it was a ragtag band. Our drummer, he couldn't afford a drum throne, so he sat on a hamper, a clothes hamper. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, I mean, and then I bought a PV trans tube, which I still
Yeah,
have.
I remember
It's a
those trans tubes.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
trans tube 112, and that was my main guitar amp for like 5, 6 years.
Isn't it funny how a lot of guitar players end up using PV, and especially at the beginning? If you're still using PV today, it's okay. But I'm just thinking.
Oh yeah.
So I had a Rage. So my first setup was the Squire starter pack,
Hmm.
Squire Bullet, which I will show you before you leave. It's out in the garage. I have all the like band stickers, the bands that I listen to, and I put them on it.
Yeah.
And it's of course dead spots from the get go all over the fretboard. But that and a PV Rage 50, I feel like it was called the little combo amplifier, right?
Okay.
And I had an RP Digitech RP at some point multi effects.
Oh
If you can remember
yeah.
those, I think this one was like blue and with silver pedals, and I'll link out description in the you know what I'm talking about in the description. But it had like it did have like a volume wah pedal on it,
Hmm.
and it was awful. But it was so fun though, because it had all these effects. I would just I didn't know how to really play yet, so I'm just kind of scrolling through the effects, clicking through them, or probably was up on a desk because I was too lazy to put it on the ground, just like clicking through, strum, hear the effect. I still do that today, probably on
Oh
my
yeah.
effects, but yeah. So that was like the first one I had. But then and I've talked about I think this before on a previous podcast. My mom's ex-husband. So after I was born, my parents divorced. She remarried. He was a guitar player, which actually motivated me more to play guitar for myself. But I was lent by him a big old PV single 15. It had to be about the size of that cab over there, that bass cab, but it had like a single 15 in it. It was a piano monitor, and it was old school. And I don't remember the name of it,
Hmm.
but that was like my big upgrade, right? So PV Rage 50
Right.
to big old piano monitor. And of course, I was still running my RP Digitech through, so it sounded just
Oh
awful.
yeah, I bet.
I think my first stomp box I ever had was an Ibanez. It was not a tube screamer. It was like the cheap, cheap, and it sounded awful distortion pedal. And I don't even remember what model it was,
Hmm.
but that was like my big upgrade, right?
Oh yeah.
Even though the Digitech with all those effects seemed kind of cool, I realized I just wasn't cutting it.
My first stomp box was it was a Boss compressor, which my dad had.
It was?
And
Okay.
I was like, this doesn't do anything. I don't hear any difference.
Don't
So I
yeah,
took it in and I
yeah.
traded it for uh, just the Boss distortion, the orange,
Is that the DS1?
the DS1. Yeah.
DS1.
Yeah.
Classic, right?
Yeah, the
Classic.
classic
I wish I
DS1.
would have had that over the Ibanez one, to be honest with you, but go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so I traded it for that. Of course, like the DS1's like a $25 pedal, and this compressor is like 150. But
You just didn't know how to work it at the time, right?
no, I didn't know what I was doing,
Yeah.
and I thought, well, this sounds cool. It's distorted. It sounds like what I'm listening to,
Yep.
and so yeah, I had that, and then later on, I bought this awful Zoom multi effects.
Kind of like the Digitech thing, right?
Exactly, just crappier.
No offense. I use a Zoom recorder, and I think they've come a long way
Oh,
with some of their
yeah.
stuff.
We use I have a Zoom board that records 8 channels at once. We use it for game beaters.
Okay,
and
cool.
yeah.
Good deal. But yeah, they're guitar pedals though.
yeah, or especially early on, they were just not quality.
So I'm curious, it seems like with a lot of other things today, one company makes a lot of different things for other companies.
Hmm.
I wonder if back then that was even a Zoom product, or if that was something like Digitech or Behringer, or one of those major companies mass produced for all kinds of brands. Maybe
Oh,
you
it
think.
could be.
I know like Behringer owns today like a gajillion brands,
Oh, that makes sense.
including recently they bought one of my brands that I use for years is TC Electronic. They
Hmm.
bought them. I've been assuming TC Helicon too for the vocal effects, but
Oh, wow,
and I mean, apparently they own all kinds of companies.
that's interesting. Because I always thought of Behringer as the budget, upper line
Yes.
budget
Yeah.
company.
Well, they are,
Yeah.
but they're also apparently doing things the books right because, or they're whatever you would say, the accountants are doing things right. Hold on a second here.
Yeah.
Behringer brands. Behringer, Germany, 1989. I mean, they're not even that old of a company. They're really not even that old of a company.
89, you said?
Yeah.
Wow. Huh.
God, there has to be a list somewhere. I swear I've seen something somewhere where it talks about they own just like all kinds of companies. They own all kinds of different brands. And I don't know if this is, I probably shouldn't be spending too much time on this. And of course, I'll show this in the video on YouTube. And for those that are just listening to audio, if you go to the YouTube page, you'll see this. But if I could find that list, I will link it in the description. But I know they own like tons and tons and tons and tons of brands.
Yeah, I'd like to see
Tons.
that list if you do find it.
Yeah. And again, it's not as easy as I thought it was going to be to pull up, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'll look at the description if I have to.
That's right. There we go. Perfect. It'll be in the description down below. You know where it's at. But yeah, I'll have to look that up at some point. I can't seem to find it offhand. I don't want to spend too much time there. But
Right on.
yeah, so I'm pretty sure Behringer, though, they're like one of those. I know they are. I mean, I've read this before. They
Yeah.
own tons of companies. So recently, TC Electronic came out with a whole new line of stomp boxes, inexpensive $50 stomp boxes.
Right.
They all look just like the Behringer ones because Behringer just bought them.
Sure.
So they decided to come out.
That's pretty cool.
And I guess that's pretty common, though, with a lot of different things in the world. I work in the automotive industry myself,
Hmm.
and that's no different than General Motors using similar platforms and, same vehicles essentially in the past and just basically swapping out front ends and
All right.
or same powertrains and different, it makes good money sense,
Yeah.
right? If you think about it.
Yeah. I mean, the object of a business is to obtain money, not lose it. So-
Exactly, yeah. But you're right, though. Behringer, getting back to what you said, you always think of that as like the budget one.
Hmm.
You're right. It is.
Yeah.
They just must have done things right over the years.
I suppose. I mean, I've bought a lot of their stuff, so
Like, what's one thing Behringer wise that you bought you can remember?
I have like a phantom power supply. I have the for game beaters and stuff, we have the this like 8-channel headset thing.
Yep.
that you see on the Joe Rogan podcast. If you ever
Oh.
watch that,
Yes, I
He's-
have, and I almost pulled the trigger on that one, but I figured I didn't have enough real estate on the desk area where I
Oh,
wanted
yeah.
to leave one all the time.
hmm
Thus, this it's easier to transport. But I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, I didn't buy it because of Joe. I was watching Joe. I was like, hey, I have that same thing.
Nice.
Yeah, it was cool. Um, but what else do I have? There's a couple stomp boxes and
Do you? Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
just some random things.
I'm pretty sure I have their cable tester. Is what I have.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure I have their cable tester in my
Yeah.
gig bag out in the drum room out there that I showed you earlier.
I mean, their stuff works well. It's just you got to be careful with it sometimes. That's the thing.
You get what you pay for. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I guess. Although there's some fun like quality tests on YouTube of Behringer stop boxes where they'll throw one off of a 100-story building and
It's still good.
it's fine. Yeah. Still works.
It's not that you have to have I guess the total package be all the top quality materials. It's the right portions of the product be top quality materials, I guess, in that case.
Mhm.
Right. So it's going to withstand that drop from the roof.
Right.
Right. Because musicians, you never know. They might do that, right?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Well, you stomp on them, so I assume they
So-
got to make them somewhat durable.
That is a good point. So one thing, and I'm not trying to call out, I won't even say the brand because I don't want to go there, but I have a switcher on my pedal board,
Mm-hmm.
a switcher that controls all my effects. I have had to send it back to the company
Mhm.
and have them fix, those metal click.
Yeah.
I've had them replace them a couple of times now, unfortunately, mainly because I'm a fat ass and, and I'm putting so much weight on it. I don't know that I'm really stomping on it when I'm
Mm-hmm.
transitioning, but yeah, I mean, and like anything else though, eventually it's going to wear out.
Yeah.
Depends on how much you use it though too, right?
For sure. I mean, I had and I'll say the name of the company because they were good about it. I had a Pog from Electro
Oh, yeah.
Harmonics,
Yep.
and the thing went out 3 times, and within a year. And I'd send it back, and they'd replace it, and I'd send it back, and finally, I just got it replaced, and I was like, I'm going to sell this off, and I
Just
let
got
them
tired of
know
dealing
what
with it.
the deal
Yeah.
was, but yeah, just sold it to a buddy and whatever. But it was like some things are just not. I don't know. They're just not made to. Those kind of switches, I think, they get dirty, and I don't know. They're not as durable as maybe they should be.
Especially when I'm stomping on them too. Like I said, I felt like that was part of it.
Because you're a big guy. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, being a big guy and just not even thinking about just kind of slamming down
Yeah,
on it, right? In
yeah.
between going from clean to distortion or dropping that effect on there,
Mhm.
trying to be so precise, right? And just hitting it so quick and putting all my weight on it to make sure I didn't miss it.
Yeah.
'Cause a lot of times, and you know this when you're singing and playing, sometimes
Mhm.
it's like almost like I feel like I need to put more force down onto it just to make sure that it worked.
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Well, and you want to look cool while you're stomping. too.
Yeah, exactly. No high stepping or anything like that, but
Right.
but yeah, there's been a couple of brands over the years, but it's funny though, Behringer. It's funny. You think of them as a budget brand, but if you can throw them off the roof of a building and they're still going to work, that's okay, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, but it's
Wait, the product or the throwing it
The
off
throwing
the
off a roof.
Exactly. So okay. So I know we got off track there a little bit. So Steve Albini
Yeah.
went to France.
Mhm.
You do a lot of recording and studio work yourself.
Yeah.
You have all the instruments, so you can do it yourself too.
Mhm.
You're kind of like a Dave Grohl almost, right? Kind of, do a little bit of everything.
I guess.
Which
Yeah.
is pretty cool. So, and you play Nirvana tribute band Nirvomit,
Mm-hmm.
which is fun. And then, so you do original music too. If that's okay, we can talk about that.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
I know you kind of maybe a little bit we talked about earlier, but what style and
Okay, so yeah, I've been working on this band for about a year. It's actually been a year. May 29th was our year anniversary. And we would just get together every Thursday and write a song. And yeah, so been doing that a year. The style, I mean, one week it was a reggae song. The next week it was a punk rock song. We just decided to throw all the rules out the window of what being a band is supposed to be and just make music.
do what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Let it come to you, I guess. I
because
don't
it's
know.
yeah, and it was great because it almost every time we got together, we'd have a song that we'd come out with. And, some are better than others or whatever. And the goal is to just whittle that down to make an album now. The band still has no name. Like, we're just not even,
Just developing still. Yeah.
yeah, it's like no pressure. We'll just do what we want, just for the love of music. And then if by the time we're done with the project, if people like it, great.
Great. Yeah. And then goal to play out to some capacity, I'm assuming.
Depends. I mean, see how we feel after the album's done. Like, we're just kind of taking it one thing at a time.
Sure. And then what's great about you is because you have recording studio experience. It's easy for you, even if you don't play out, just put it on is it a CD still?
I guess a CD or a Bandcamp or all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's funny. That's another way how things have changed, right? I mean, do you hand out flash drives anymore? I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Well, everybody just streams their music now.
true.
So,
I do too.
yeah. I mean, and if you want to get stuff on Spotify and stuff, I know how to do that as well. I've got, my old band Milk Duct Tape has it on there.
They're on
and
Spotify.
Yeah, we're on
Cool.
Spotify and all that.
Google Play Music.
Yeah, we got the whole thing.
I use Google Play Music.
Me too, actually.
Okay.
I don't use Spotify. I use Google Play.
Good man. Good man. Yep.
Well, I got to have the YouTube Red, and it comes with YouTube Red.
Yep.
So,
Well, you notice on the Wizard video there was no advertisement
right.
earlier. So yep, I'm right there with you.
Good,
Yep,
cool.
yep.
I'm glad I'm not the only YouTube Red user.
No, I feel like there's a lot of people that actually do use that in my travels for work when I talk about in vehicle technology, and a lot of people do use Google Play Music,
Hmm.
which I think is totally worth it.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and Google or the YouTube Red portion with it and everything.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good deal. Although I'm an iOS user, so I get charged an extra $2 compared to
Are you
Android.
kidding me?
Yeah.
They
it's-
charge you extra?
They charge you extra for being an iOS user.
That's just another reason I just don't like
I
Apple
know.
phones. So
It's exactly what everybody tells me. This is my first Apple phone that I've, the last time I was like, well, I've had Android ever since phones became, smart. And I thought I'd try the newest
iPhone,
Apple. Yeah.
sure. 8 or 10?
It's the 7.
Okay,
The
seven.
the
All
end of the
right.
life of the 7. The 8 was like getting ready to come out, and they had a cheap sale on the 7, and I just picked it up.
Perfect.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. I get it.
Yeah.
It's funny when you said back as soon as they were smartphones. Do you remember your first smartphone you had? That was an Android phone.
Oh man. I think I had a Galaxy S2.
Was it an S2?
Yeah, I think so.
Is that a Verizon, US Cellular? Who is that?
I've been with Sprint
Oh, Sprint.
forever.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the funny thing is with Verizon, I had the first Android Verizon phone, and I hope I'm still right on this. I'll maybe have to check it out afterwards. But HTC Droid Aeris, which actually had a version I feel like on Sprint first for Android, and I can't remember what that model was called on the Sprint side. But I had an HTC Droid Aeris that was Android, and then I just kept going from there. And before that, I don't know if you remember, they looked like Blackberries, but it was called a Moto Q. It was a Motorola product. It looked like a little BlackBerry device.
Yeah.
It wasn't Android, it wasn't anything like that. But it was, I had that before that first Android phone.
Okay.
So I don't know if you remember those or not.
I
Too.
kind of do. Yeah.
They were definitely dorky. I mean, I had one. I don't know why, but I probably still have it like somewhere, in a box.
Was it the kind that like it has like the touch screen, but you flip it up and then you have the keyboard?
Nothing like that here. This one I know I'll be able to pull up for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what it was.
Oh, okay. I do remember those.
Baller mode. It'd be like Power Glove, but in 2000 and whatever. No, I'm just kidding. It's not that lame, but yeah, it kind of is. But I had a couple of those, and I love those. And then I went to that HTC Droid Aeris, and then I jumped back. I've had HTCs, Motorola's, and now I'm using the Google Pixel 2 XL that I love to death.
Oh, okay.
I just love the pure Android experience.
Yeah. I took my mom she doesn't know tech that well and stuff. She asked me to take her phone shopping, and that's what she picked up was the Pixel.
Oh, she did? She picked up a
yeah,
Pixel?
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and I like it. It's a nice phone.
Was that Gen 1 or the current one that just came out or in the
Um,
past?
It was like 2 months ago. So
Probably
whatever.
the newest version then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I love it. I think it's great because it's just kind of a stripped down
Hmm.
Android only. You get the updates first before anybody else, including Samsung, of course, and all the security updates. And I just love it. I think it's great. I'm not trying to sell it right now. I'm just saying it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I mean, she came from like an S4, which it
Oh
was
my
just
God.
bloated. It was so bloated.
What an upgrade.
So it was like, yeah, I know she loves it. So
That's cool. And there's, all due respect to iPhones too. They're great phones as well. I get it. Some of my friends are calling me out on this probably if they're hearing me say this because I am a hater to some degree.
yeah,
But I mean, they work, right? And they're fast too.
they have their perks.
They have their perks, and like every other device, including some people feel like probably for Android, is that there's perks and negatives to each one of them. But that's a bummer though. They charge you $2 extra.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I was like, why is this $2 extra? It's like iOS fee or something like
Because
that.
they'd rather have you using Apple Music instead.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead.
It's,
Mm-mm.
I'm not, especially not now.
Right. Right? Taking my money, my extra money. You could go towards one of those microphones that cost $20,000, right?
Yeah, right. $2, man.
Yeah. So, but again, just way like technology goes, it's just amazing to think, not just like oh boy, for gear, for guitars or what we're using right now,
Hmm.
and then phones and, everything in between. It's pretty crazy. Where do you see things going on the studio or recording side in the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh, like as in like things going digital and
I don't know. I'm asking you, what do you think the next big thing is for recording and studio work?
I mean, like I was talking about earlier, like the virtual microphones or
Oh,
like
yep.
the emulation microphones and stuff like that. I think they're getting better and better at like emulating guitar cabs and emulating all this stuff. And I think, and that's cheap. It's way cheaper than buying
Yeah.
the real gear. And yeah, I just think we'll end up seeing a lot of that and less studios, unfortunately.
Oh, just less studios in general.
Yeah, I think
More
so.
just doing it like at your house instead, basically.
Yeah.
You don't need the studio,
Right,
basically.
right. Like setups like you have, something like that. Only, a little more advanced in the future.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and I've looked at things too before for recording, and I've got a couple of things I've had in the past, but I'm looking at getting again like I feel like Apollo's the brand, a little desktop, recording device for guitar, bass. You plug into it, it goes right to the software in the computer. I know
Mhm.
there's probably millions of other, or not millions, but there's plenty of other options too.
yeah.
Like what's this brand starts with an F. I can't remember for something, and then I don't know. There's tons of options. I get it, right?
Mhm.
But they're getting better and better. Is your point, which makes it
Yeah,
interesting. Seeing where things are going to go with that.
I think so.
I mean, I'm not going to be recording anytime soon, like instruments, unless it's just for like a YouTube cover or an Instagram clip or something lame like that, where I shouldn't even be recording for that, But
Right.
it's kind of fun though.
Yeah, it is.
It is kind of fun to use that newer stuff.
Hmm.
I don't think I'm ever going to get rid of like live, go to Kemper or XFX
Yeah.
or the Line 6 series of, their versions of those two.
Sure.
I feel like maybe I'm just on the edge of that transition. I don't know. Do you feel like with the gear, not in the studio, you feel like it'll be the same thing? People will keep going more and more to digital.
Um, I don't know, because I'm a weird case. Because I just use whatever it takes to get the job done.
Sure.
That's my approach. Um, so if I can do it better digitally, fine. If I can do it better, make it sound better with, an analog thing, great. Um, so as far as the future goes, I mean, it could go anyway, but I think, yeah, I just think they're going to keep developing the technology. It's going to be easier to use, and eventually musicians will be able to not need the studio, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, what you're paying for, like, say you go to Steve Albini's studio, you're paying for Steve Albini to record your album and get that prestige and
It's
get
experience,
the
right?
experience as well. Yeah. Um, because I see a lot of people. I have friends that have recorded with Steve Albini, and it's like they put it right on the front of their album, like recorded by Steve Albini, just because it's like they know he's got a reputation and whatever.
Maybe people will look at it more seriously because of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, because he's recorded legends or whatever. Um, so yeah, I mean the studio experience, and I know he even has trouble making ends meet for his studio, keeping it open, which is sad. I'm a fan of going to the studio and having a nice studio experience and
Yeah.
stuff. Um, but then again, I know like Luke at Flat Black Studios does pretty well.
Is that in Iowa City?
It's on the outskirts, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Cool.
um, yeah. I mean, like most Iowa City bands record there, and he does a great job.
Yeah.
So
I know there's some in the Quad Cities too, at least one or
Mhm.
maybe two in the Quad Cities, because that's more the area that I usually gravitate towards,
Mhm.
east instead of west from here. But
Mhm.
I don't even know like how busy they are.
Right.
It's interesting this transition. So with you've got the new original band you're working on. Nirvana isn't going anywhere.
I mean, we're hopefully going somewhere, but
I mean, you're going to continue doing what
yeah,
you're doing, is what I'm
gonna.
saying.
It's fun for us, so we'll just keep doing it.
So
I don't see any reason why not to.
would you feel like how long is it going to take for the original band to get everything kind of put on, where it's available and have a name and, maybe play a show somewhere?
I don't know. Like next week, we're gonna figure out the songs that we want to whittle it down to, and
Was
then
30 right now you got or something?
we've got 30
That's
exactly.
crazy. That's good.
Yeah,
Yeah, good.
yeah, and I recorded all those. Like I mean, they're studio quality recordings,
Nice. Nice.
but we haven't let anybody like listen to them, and we're kind of just keeping it in a bubble. Uh, but yeah, I don't know how long. It's just, it's like we haven't named the band, we haven't done anything with it. We're just kind of, every day was like, this is a song we're going to write today. We're going to go to this goal. So now we just have to pick the next goal, which is get the songs picked. And then after that, we're going to pick the next goal of like which songs do we record in what order and things like
Sure.
that.
And it's a 3-piece for sure, right?
It's a 3-piece, yeah.
So and the reason why I'm asking too is because if you wanted to, and I told Dan earlier that I'm actually booked out through the end of the year with guests, but next year I'm wanting to do some music guests too, like on every fourth or third, podcast that I do when I do 2 a month next year. I'd totally love for you guys to come out and just set up and play through a song.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I mean, if you're down for that,
for sure.
and
Yeah.
you want to come back and set something up and coffee or scotch for everybody, and we'll play through some. And then even I feel like next year too, part of my upgrades are what I told you, I'm gonna have a TV in here to view, like
Mhm.
so we're not trying to look at this computer screen. I'm gonna upgrade to the next one that has more XLRs,
Okay.
and then I'm gonna have. I know it's cramped in here, but I feel like I could set something up. Have a couple extra people. Maybe it'd be kind of cramped, but maybe find a way to make it work.
Right, right.
Have your bandmates over if you guys want to be on another podcast or something and talk about how the music went. It's
Yeah.
up to you.
I mean, I would like to do that. I got to run it by those guys, but
Yeah, well, the hell with them. If they don't want to come back, you can come. You
All
can come
right,
over again,
all
right?
Cool. Yeah, I'm happy to come back.
So,
This is fun.
all right, man. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
thank you.
Dan Bobek, musician, Game Beaters online. Anything else I need to plug for you right now? What else?
Yeah, just Game Beaters. I mean, if you need recording, I will record your band. I've done other bands, or if mixing is your thing, if you recorded your thing and you can't get it to sound the way you want, I mix. I've got rates online and stuff, but
So, and I'll put all the links and all that in the description, of course, on YouTube, Facebook, SoundCloud. And then you're out of Iowa City, just to be clear, right?
Yeah.
Not Coralville.
Iowa City.
Iowa City. Okay.
straight
So
up.
straight up Iowa City. So definitely get a hold of this guy if you have any questions. But I really appreciate you coming on, and we'll hopefully have you on again in the future. Sound good?
Great. Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll see you on the next episode. I can't remember who the hell it is, but we'll see you when I see you. Bye.